Welcome back, Rankers. Did an excellent show last week. Sensational. No one watched it, though. Now, well, not no one, about half as usual. And seriously, it was an important show. It was about mobile. Sales are up 200% from people using their mobile devices. That's a story. Trust me. So if you know someone who didn't see it, I know you watched it, but your mates who didn't watch it last week, can you please tell them? I've got data to prove that it was an excellent show, which I'm going to show you towards the end of this show. But I just don't have the viewers to show you. But certainly the data suggests that the people who watched it loved it. Anyway, on with this week's show. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Google's new Glasnost. And if you don't know what that means, ask your mum and dad. Basically, we know that Google makes 2 changes per day on the algorithm, right? That's a lot. Once a month, starting last month, they are telling you what the most important changes were this month that they made, so you can keep up. Wow. Why they're doing this, a number of theories, but we won't get into that today. But what I will point out is a couple of these changes that we know are already broken. One is this original content one. It says here, we added new signals to help us make better prediction about which of 2 similar web pages is the original one. Which brings me to Dave the Happy Singer. I met Dave at a protest rally at our National Parliament House back in 2008. And I think that's where he met his current girlfriend as well. Love of his life, if I'm to believe what's posted on Facebook. So, Dave has said, what do you make of craprigators like this? I love that word, craprigator. Hadn't heard that before, Dave. And what he's talking about is sites that basically go and scrape your content and put them on their own content, which what Google here is saying is they're trying to stop. They're trying to deliver you the original piece of content in its original context rather than someone who's just scraped it and stuck it on their own site and then put advertising all over their site and hoping to get clicks and make money off Google. Well, this is a site, and what I think is hysterical here, and I don't know whether Dave planned it this way, but what's hilarious here is this article that Dave the Happy Singer wrote was about the Australian Labor Party's new support for same-sex marriage. And of course, this is a Christian site for Christian parents, and of course, this article here is all pro-gay marriage. And from my reading of it, I don't think if someone who owned this particular site would have authorised the publishing of this content for their audience. The reason this is a problem, the reason I know this recent change from Google is already broken, is if we go and grab that title of that article, and here's Dave's original article. But if we go and Google that, which I did earlier, we can see here Dave's craprigator is number 1 for that piece of content, and Dave is number 2 and 3. This 2 and 3 here actually breaks Google's last algorithm change down the bottom there, saying that they're going to be weeding out results from the same site, more than one result. There it is right there. Anyway, there could be a couple of reasons for this, Dave. Reason here is you will see that your actual target article, the target page, the inside article, does not actually show in the results. And you will see here this one does. And they've got the same search engine friendly URL as you. And if I just go and have a look back at their site, it's almost identical actually. Apart from the domain, of course. But Google picked up this when it was the main front page post on your site. It's now gone from essentially the top part of the site, and now it's fallen down here. I would do a couple of things, Dave. I would probably get latest news or latest posts module stuck in here somewhere so Google can crawl that. And but one thing that I would definitely do, and you can see here, this is the page that isn't turning up for that particular search, and it should. What you really should be doing is setting up Google authorship. And that brings me to another question this week from Nathan R., who is asked about connecting Google Plus accounts. It's really important because it allows Google to understand who wrote a piece of content first, are they real, are they a person, and it uses a thing called authorship code. So you can see here it says, this is, I'll just get out of this. This is my profile, and you can see on your profiles, you can say, here are my other profiles around the web. So I've got the YouTube, the Quora, twice actually. I should delete one of those. And if you go into these, you can just say, well, here is my blog, and it's linked to my author page, author/Jim. And if we go to that, you can see that the author page is linked back to the Google Plus page, the Google profile page. And then every piece of content that I write is linked to this author page. So this was the piece of content from excellent show from last week. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it was the one that has some excellent data around it. But you can see here I've got Jim, and Jim is linked to the author page, and then the author page is linked back to Google Plus. Google Plus links back to the author page. That's what you guys should be doing. Hopefully that helps Dave and Nathan. Now, how do I know last week's show was good? Well, new analytics in YouTube. They're sensational. I've been wanting this for so long. Really, up until now, insights on YouTube has been sucky and delayed. But this is really the thing that I love the most so far is about audience retention. And what we're seeing here is I've got the absolute audience retention of last week's show. And you can see how I've got this beautiful flat line for the length of the show. And the show was 8.5 minutes long. And don't worry about this little dip at the end. That's just the fade out, fade to black. So what these lines, troughs, and, slow battery, what these lines represent are fast forwards and rewinds. So, for instance, you can see here we've got the audience at 116%. That means that a percentage of the audience rewound the show to watch a bit at the start again. So you may have noticed at the beginning of the show that at Twitter, at Jim Boot and at Stuart Media, those little balloons stayed up a bit longer than normal. And that's because that's what this peak here told me, is that people were rewinding that to see that, because that's exactly when that content appears. And it's a bit flaky still at the moment. But you can see there, that's when they were appearing last week. And then when we get to it's a bit delicate a little bit, but you can see there they've gone at that peak. So people have rewound from here to go back and see that. Down here, this is where we were talking about AdWords and some of the campaigns we were setting up, specifically around, targeting mobile users, because the show last week was all about mobile. Targeting mobile users on, say, the Telstra network within a 5-kilometre radius at 3 to 5 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon on a regular basis, and just targeting those people. That got a lot of interest because I went into a little bit about how to do that and the costs and the benefits of doing that. So that got rewound. So this tells me a little bit about the audience and the sorts of things they're interested in. So hopefully this week you've got some more content that you're interested in and that you see value, and I see more spikes like this. But typically, if I do a really long show, like a 25-minute, you will see the line drop off as people start to fall asleep towards the end. But that's why I've always been trying to be a big believer of keeping the show under 10 minutes. If I can do that, I know that people's attention span may last that long. I know I just contradicted myself. But that is it for this week's show. That is it for this week's show. We'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Bye.